Greetings my friends, it's Lee. Well, this video is going to be about the medicine wheel and how there is a microcosm and a macrocosm. Of course, to say about humans, or rather we should say souls having the human experience, first having come from the great source, having been born onto a planet for various reasons and purposes, having been scattered and then coming back to a whole. Coming back to the idea of oneness. Now, if you're watching the video, and probably you're a person that has a good sense of spirituality, if you're one of my friends that likes to watch my particular style of presentation, well, welcome back. Always nice to have you. I'm not always one to know how to start the video perfectly, but once I get into my role, then hopefully I'll be able to do some justice. At this point in time, the Earth is getting to a very more and more tangible and palpable climactic moment, a pinnacle. There is indeed an awakening, there is indeed a golden dawn, if you will, there is an enlightenment, there is the kingdom of heaven coming. It is inside first, and unless we feel it inside, of course, how can we do it outwardly? This is why to come to peace, to come to terms with being, where you are from, what you are, and where you always return to, is of paramount importance. This, I would suggest to people, be the main focus, and other than that, the external world will fall into place. Even as the one named Jesus the Christ said, "Seek first the kingdom and all else would be added unto you." Well, word it whichever way we might like. The fact of the matter is, this is coming to a head, the enlightenment. Now, I did the medicine wheel on my face in one of the more classic traditional manners, simply to say, by this point, very many of us have indeed been incarnating all over the planet and have had many experiences. And some of us even have memories of being on other planets. And that sounds strange to someone who very staunchly or ignorantly or whatever other category we could say or term, and the subcategories within, but with memory, with self-discovery, with an understanding of being linked with the one great essence, the one great spirit, the one being, the one great source. We learn to identify ourselves with this more and more, that our memory clicks and says, oh yes, of course, that's where I'm from, and ultimately that's what I am. And I am an extension shooting forth. So, traditionally with the medicine wheel, why I want to do the video is to say that we have been incarnating here in a variety, in a multitude of ways, and have been scattered abroad, and even as the different tribes and races, so-called, of man, there's only really one tribe, and there's only really one race, but for spice, for variety, for experiences, we've tasted many little different things, but really it is only one. So being having the ability to incarnate and experience a variety of cultures, a variety of experiences, both good and bad, rich and poor, deep in spirit, spiritless, and a myriad of other things. But people who are on par, on the keen cutting edge of self-discovery, understand the reincarnation processes, understand the source, understand their extraterrestrial, angelic, and also demonic involvement and necessity for all those. And now, coming back to a point. The Earth tribes started in very few places and scattered out. If we just look at migration patterns and reverse them, it's so very simple to see that that's true. So, we're going to have the different colors, the four cardinal colors of man, if you will. And these are experiences that we've had, but the soul inside is all of these colors, especially for a person adept at self-discovery and studying spirit. To associate with the body is really nothing much, because the body is one very fast temporary thing, as you well know. Even those who doubt, they doubt the God, they doubt spirit, they doubt life after death. Fact is, you're in a body, you're mortal, and maybe spend some time asking why and what you really are. People that become real mystics, not pseudo and false and philosopher types or academia types where ideas are fancy, but I'm talking real mystics who really have tangible experiences, who cross the veil, can testify to all these things, and it's been done throughout history. Now, I'll start with that one, because physically at this current time being, I appear to you as a white male, but I'm male, female, white, yellow, red, black, and all the combinations in between. Green and blue too even. And if you have a keen memory, maybe you'll start to understand, maybe me too, because that's exactly it. It's a very wonderful thing to associate with all of it, because we are all of it. So, white associating with the Caucasian race, associated with the North. You think about snow and winter and these kind of things. This has having to do with spirit and a return to spirit and a return to a social order. It's not to say that the other colors don't have these things also, but these are the main underlying focus, if you will, that has been traditionally handed down. Now, then people say about moving to the east, and you have the yellow races. This is associated with the power of the east, with the physicality, with the springtime, and this has to do with a mode of serenity. This has to do with, if you think of the development, for example, well, just to go back for a second, if you think of the urge and the strength behind the Caucasian race, it was about mastering the external world, mastery of the external world, the desire, the fire to do things, to explore and to manipulate the material. And the yellow race, so to say, is bent on discovery of things in the quiet. You think of the masters of meditation, and you think of mountains. The highest mountains in the world are in the areas where they have the so-called yellow races. So this has to do with serenity, self-discovery in the quiet. So you have external searchings and you have internal searchings, but it's all interrelated. Then you would have in the south, the red. It's going to be associated with summertime. It can be associated with mental prowess, and this also is having to do with knowledge of earth and earth medicine. So the red races, and that's covering more than just people could think of the typical Native American or something like that, but even the East Indians could be considered a mixture of black and red or something like that, the brown types, because they intermingle. But these are masters of medicine. So this is having to do with that kind of wisdom and the ability of understanding a good balance between the physical and the spiritual. Then we'll have on the far west, we'll have the black races. And I know people could say, oh, well, from my perspective, that's east, that's west, this north, south. Who's to say where the center of the world is? Because from a certain perspective, we're going to say this and that. But the original locations that mankind started, womankind, humankind started, is not in a certain location in Europe, because it was convenient to say north, south, east, west from that point, where Greenwich Mean Time, and here's the start. It was east from Europe where it started. So from this point, we think north, south, east, west. So with the black peoples, we're talking about the very emotional, the enjoyment and the strength of pleasure and pain in the emotional. Not to say that the other ones didn't have it, but this was the great gift of the black races, is the enjoyment, because the black races, more so than any others, really can understand really great joyful celebration and hippity-hoppity drumming and dancing, but on the other hand of the token, very cool, very chill, very relaxed nature. So you see those complementary contrasts, and the black is associated with autumn. So we have all of these experiences that are inside of us. They are able to be discovered. We have been starting at a place, and humankind, mankind, womankind wanted to build a Tower of Babel in places like this to make a central hub. But we were not meant to just build there. It was meant for us to explore, to discover the whole planet. And now we pretty much have done so. There's hardly any corners that have been left unturned on the planet. maybe a few little places underwater we haven't found yet or something like that. But basically, it's been discovered, it's been experienced by very, very many souls. We're talking about the soul entity, we're talking about the being, we're talking about even the God of gods. Extensions everywhere all over the universe. Multiple planets. We can't be always ecocentric and think about ourselves. Multiple planets. Multiple levels of understanding and emotional and spiritual and physical, etc., so on and so forth. Development. So as we've gone all abroad, now it doesn't matter which country we live in, because if you're a person that's getting on with the spirituality, with the enlightenment, with the new age, if you want, call it any name you want to, with the heaven's kingdom coming, all of these things, it doesn't matter where you are now, because it's inside, and it's really felt inside. And we can say, I am male, female, and I am even non-sex. I am all these colors, and more, and no color. I am everything, and I am nothing at the same time. And from that perspective, that's what Siddhartha Gautama, the Buddha, was talking about, is to say, I am everything, and I am also nothing. And in this center of that, or in the middle of that statement, that's where the prime being is. The God of gods, or call it what we will, the source of sources, or call it what we will, he, she, it, individual preferences. But the source of sources is Zen, is calm, is the middle of everything, is the intermingling, is the perfection of the unity of everything. And it is the calm center of the universe indeed. And yet, it doesn't have a specific location. It's over in space that way. This zenith, or longitude, latitude, it's 3D space-time, time-space, it's all nonsense. The being can be found as a center inside anyone. And yet, it's like sort of an overlapping, intermingling thing. It's kind of like the old show Doctor Who, and on the outside you see the small telephone booth, but inside it's massive. So it flips the dimensions, and really the center is anywhere, anytime. But we forget that. And the more we're telling ourselves, I am this body, I am this male, I am this female, I belong to these people, this is my culture, my people, all that is nonsense. The more we associate ourselves, and I'm not trying to say enjoy whatever you are, but and enjoy the spice of life that you currently have, but it's an illusion because it's temporary. There is no enemy, there is no grudge, there is no nothing. Only the enemy that is inside. And that one and only enemy, and also that one and only friend, is present inside any single conscious soul entity, anywhere, any place in the entire cosmos. So when we have an appreciation for all directions, so to say, when we meet in the middle, and there is nothing to argue about, there's no variance, there is no, we can enjoy all things, we can be all things, but it's not to associate with just one or the other, or the other, or the other, but it's to really feel and to enjoy everything at once. And then to sit calmly and say, I am. Just like as you have it in the Bible, I am Yahweh, I am, call it what you want. There we have it. So, I'm getting over, again, I'm always someone that's trying to understand it for myself, and then share it with whomever, but we can have this massive ability to go so beyond the temporal, and yet, even beyond that, we get to that point where we have that recognition and realization, and we say, okay, and even though I am that immortal, colorless, whatever, anything, everything I am, for the moment, I'll enjoy this and that and the other. Because you don't have to get into a love-hate relationship or a denial and acceptance thing. Do as you have to do. And it is indeed a macrocosm, because we've those of us souls who are here on this Terra, this Gaia, this Mother Earth, experiencing all these things, this is a micro level for the macro that's out there. When we're talking about space-age travel and different planets and things, and sometimes some of us remember having already done these things before, having been elsewhere, and being able to return to these things. But even for people that don't understand that, nonetheless, is not a so-called space-age coming. It's been suggested to us, introduced to us through science fiction and these things, but it's not fiction at all. We are getting into a bigger awareness And the universal, or let me say this, the soul of humanity, the global soul of humanity, is going to come to one friendly thing rather than enemies. And those who want to stay in darkness, in denial, in hatred, clinging to the grudge, clinging to self-hatred, which culminates into hatred of others, and feeling a lack of something, and then therefore overcompensating. Like if you think about the very mega rich, the mega rich desire that material comfort because previously in a different experience that they've had, they know what it is to have nothing, and now they desire too much. But someone again who is too comfortable in the 3D reality, and it is indeed a vanity and illusion because it's gone fast. A few decades, poof, you're dead, you're out. Oh, I was a bit blind, wasn't I? We've all been there. It's not to make fun of anybody, but that's just it. It is a vanity and illusion. And then to say, well, now I've experienced that, but now I can go beyond. So even the bad negative experiences we have, even the evil things, even the hideous actions and things that we've done and that we've received, it's all somehow meant to be, because when you fall really far and really hard away from the God of Gods, the Source, you also have the tendency to rise really high. The be-all and end-all in the middle is all things and everywhere. So we have this great accomplishment of serenity and experience that has simply led to enlightenment, has led to the Buddha mind, has led to the Christ consciousness. We can call it any name that we like, it doesn't really matter. If anyone has a better term, go ahead and use it. It's all good. So that's just my simple message is, again, we go through cycles of lessons, and we go through different seasons and different experiences all over the world. But really it was to scatter in order to return and not to remain scattered forever. That's why when the Christ said, whoever doesn't gather with me scatters, he wasn't saying bow down to this specific narrow staunch religion that suited these Europeans or that or that or that, because the religion that Christianity became and the many religions of it, so a lot of them are quite far from the mark. But really what the Christ was saying was that this level of consciousness, this level of being, as one with the Father, one with the God of Gods, call it the Mother, call it the It, call it the Isness, oneness with that, you scatter in order to return to that. And until you return to that, you are scattered. He who does not gather to me scatters. She who does not gather back to me scatters. But it's not to be scattered forever. You're lost in hell eternal. No. Any soul, even the worst, nastiest, misfit, wretched, evil punk, all these things, it's ignorance and it's unbalanced emotion. And eventually even that one will have a moment of repent and remorse and tears. And then we'll say, now I want to return to it. And it's not being forced to do it, but choosing to do it. But we don't want to do, it's just like I tell people that, you know, we're trying to quit smoking. I used to smoke, for example. But the cigarettes of human beings are very poisonous. Not talking about natural tobacco or different things that are good for you maybe. But we're talking about, you know, the chemical things. So simply to say, if you're a smoker and you want to quit, you won't be able to do it until you yourself are truly ready. No one's really going to be able to make you do it. You have to want to do it. So you use a different example, it doesn't matter, but it's the same thing, micro and macro. A person who wants to return must do it by choice, and will do so. And the more human experiences and lifetimes we have, and we've been all over the place. Some of us have been here too long. Some of us have been here too long. But it's all good because that's soaking in so many things in order to appreciate so many things and to be able to be realistic, very understanding to anybody else. So that's just it. Go out in order to return, and I'll meet you in the middle, and one day we'll have a good laugh. We'll be giddy. I'm not even talking about intergalactic travels and spaceships and cute little child's play things like that. That seems to be a level above here, but even that it's cute. But higher than that, I'll meet you in the center of the universe, and there we will indeed be one. And then the word one won't be a metaphor or a cute way to say it, but it will indeed be one. And from that point, go out again and do it all over. We have eternity to do this. Think about it. Make which go with the river of your heart. Let your mind and heart be one. Take care, my friends.